In the quiet, upscale neighborhood of Willow Creek, California, nestled among manicured lawns and million-dollar homes, lived Lila Monroe, a 35-year-old garden artist with a passion for beauty. For years, she'd dreamed of creating the perfect rose garden. And when she moved into Willow Creek 2 years ago, she finally had the chance. She invested over $10,000 in rare rose varieties, premium soil, and a state-of-the-art irrigation system, turning her front yard into a breathtaking display of red, pink, and yellow blooms. The roses weren't just plants. They were her pride, her sanctuary, and soon the envy of the neighborhood. Neighbors would stop by to snap photos. Kids would giggle as they admired the colors. And even the mailman once commented, "This is the prettiest yard I've ever seen." But not everyone was impressed. Evelyn Hart, a stern 60-year-old with a reputation for iron-fisted control, was the president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, or HOA. Evelyn saw herself as the ultimate arbiter of taste and order, a woman who believed her word was law. To her, Lila's roses were an eyesore, a chaotic splash of color that clashed with her vision of a uniform, sterile neighborhood. She claimed the roses detracted from the neighborhood's appearance and argued they attracted bees, which she labeled a public safety hazard. One crisp May morning, Evelyn sent Lila a certified letter demanding that all roses be uprooted within 48 hours or face a $5,000 fine. The letter was cold, formal, and left no room for negotiation. Lila was stunned but defiant. She'd poured her soul into that garden, and she wasn't about to let some HOA dictator tear it down. She responded with a polite but firm email, explaining that her roses were harmless, eco-friendly, and a source of joy for the community. She even offered to trim them or add netting to keep bees at bay. But Evelyn wasn't interested in compromise. At the next HOA meeting, she rallied the board, most of whom feared her wrath, and passed an emergency rule banning all non-approved landscaping, effectively targeting Lila. The situation escalated quickly. Late one humid June night, while Lila and her family slept, the HOA struck. They hired a crew of burly workers and brought in heavy machinery, bulldozers and backhoes, that roared through the quiet streets of Willow Creek. Without so much as a knock on the door, they tore up Lila's garden, ripping out every rose, every shrub, every inch of her hard work. The noise woke the neighborhood, and some residents peeked out their windows in horror as dirt flew and petals scattered. By dawn, Lila's front yard was a wasteland of churned earth and broken dreams. Taped to her door was a notice, a $5,000 fine for non-compliance signed by Evelyn herself. But the nightmare didn't stop there. A week later, a chilling package arrived at Lila's doorstep. Inside was a small box containing ashes, the charred remains of rose thorns, and a handwritten note scrawled in red ink, "Stop now or you'll lose everything." It wasn't an explosive, but to Lila it felt like a bomb had gone off in her life. Shaken but determined, she called the police, who took the package as evidence, but admitted they couldn't prove who sent it. Lila knew, though. It had Evelyn's signature all over it. Refusing to be silenced, Lila grabbed her phone and recorded the destruction, her voice trembling with rage as she panned over the ruined garden. She uploaded the video to social media with the caption, "My HOA destroyed my life over roses. Help me fight back." Within hours, it went viral, amassing over 5 million views and sparking a firestorm of outrage. The hashtag #RoseTerror trended on X, with users from across the country calling for Evelyn's head. Local news crews descended on Willow Creek, microphones thrust at residents who shared their own horror stories of HOA overreach. Lila found allies in her neighbors. Daniel Ruiz, a retired lawyer with a sharp mind and a grudge against the HOA, offered to represent her pro bono. Clara Bennett, a fiery community activist and mother of three, organized a protest outside the HOA office, where dozens of residents gathered with roses in hand and signs reading "HOA isn't king" and "Freedom to bloom." They chanted, they marched, and for a brief moment, it seemed like the community might unite against Evelyn's tyranny. But Evelyn was unfazed. At the next HOA meeting, she doubled the fine to $10,000 and threatened to foreclose on Lila's home if she didn't pay. She accused Lila of inciting chaos, and warned other residents that anyone who supported her would face similar consequences. Some neighbors, fearing for their own properties, began to waver, whispering that Lila had brought this on herself. The battle moved to the courts. For 6 grueling months, Lila and Daniel fought a legal war against the HOA, poring over bylaws, gathering witness statements, and enduring Evelyn's smear campaign. The media followed every twist with headlines like HOA versus Roses, Who's the Real Villain? And Willow Creek's War on Beauty. Finally, a judge in Sacramento ruled in Lila's favor, declaring that the HOA had violated her property rights and that their midnight demolition was illegal. They were ordered to pay $20,000 in damages and drop all fines. The courtroom erupted in cheers, and for a moment, it seemed justice had prevailed. But Evelyn wasn't done. Despite the loss, she refused to resign as HOA president. At a packed community meeting, she stood at the podium, her eyes cold and her voice steady, and called Lila a troublemaker who dragged the neighborhood into disrepute. She convinced a handful of fearful residents to side with her, arguing that strict rules were necessary to maintain property values. In a chilling TV interview, Evelyn smirked at the camera and said, "Roses can grow back, but my authority won't." The clip went viral again, drawing fresh waves of anger and disbelief. As of today, Evelyn remains in power, her grip on Willow Creek tighter than ever. She's introduced new rules banning colorful landscaping, outdoor decorations, and even certain breeds of pets, turning the once thriving community into a battleground of resentment and fear. Lila, though victorious in court, is still rebuilding her garden and her life, while vowing to never let another HOA dictate her dreams. The story of Willow Creek has become a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked.